Picture this. You are sitting on a plane, the flight attendant makes that familiar announcement about switching to airplane mode, and you freeze. Your finger hovers over that little airplane icon like you are about to launch a nuclear missile. What exactly happens when you press this mysterious button? And more importantly, are you somehow going to crash the plane if you do not? I am Tim, and today we are going to demystify airplane mode once and for all. By the time we are done here, you will understand exactly what this feature does, why it exists, and when you should actually use it. Most importantly, you will never again feel that weird anxiety about whether you are following the rules correctly at 30,000 feet. Quick favor before we dive in, if you like tech explained in plain English, hit subscribe. I make these so you can feel confident using the stuff you already own without the headache. Let us start with what most people think airplane mode does, because there is a lot of confusion floating around up there. The most common belief is that your phone will literally interfere with the plane's navigation systems and send everyone plummeting toward the Earth. Some folks think it is mostly about saving battery. Others believe it is just airline policy with no real technical reason behind it. Here is the thing that makes this even more confusing. You have probably noticed that after everyone dutifully switches to airplane mode, plenty of passengers are back on social media within minutes. So, what is actually happening here? Are the rules meaningless? Are people just ignoring them? The reality is more interesting and also more practical than most people realize. Let me explain what is really going on using a simple analogy that makes everything click. Think of your smartphone as an extremely social person at a crowded event. This person has three different ways of having conversations, and each one behaves differently. First, there is the loud approach. Your phone uses cellular signals to communicate with cell towers, which can be miles away. To reach these distant towers, your phone has to speak up. It is constantly broadcasting a strong signal that basically says, "Hey, is anyone out there? I need to connect." Calls, texts, data, the whole thing. It is like someone yelling across a noisy room to get attention from a friend on the other side of the building. Then there is the normal conversation level, that is Wi-Fi. Instead of yelling across town to a cell tower, your phone has a much quieter chat with a nearby router. It is like talking to someone standing a few feet away. The range is shorter, but the communication is more efficient and usually uses less power. Finally, there is the whisper level. Bluetooth is your phone's way of having very short-range conversations with devices right next to it. Your wireless earbuds, your smartwatch, your keyboard, your car audio. It is like leaning in and whispering to someone close by. Now imagine that same social person is at a very important meeting where someone is trying to give a crucial presentation. One person quietly whispering might not seem like a big deal. But when you have 200 people all having their own conversations at the same time, even small noises add up. It becomes harder to keep the main conversation clean and clear. That is the basic idea on an airplane. The plane is constantly having critical conversations with the outside world. It communicates with air traffic control, navigational systems, and airline operations. These communications help pilots know where they are, where other aircraft are, and how to fly safely through busy airspace and changing weather. The concern with passenger devices is not that your individual phone is going to flip a magic switch and crash the plane. Modern aircraft are built with shielding and testing to handle a world full of electronics. The more realistic concern is about the combined effect of lots of devices all trying to talk at once, creating extra electronic noise, and making the environment more complicated during sensitive parts of flight. There is also another practical piece that gets overlooked. Your phone is not designed to be moving hundreds of miles per hour at high altitude, trying to connect to ground-based towers. If you leave cellular on, your phone can spend the whole flight doing the digital version of shouting, "Is there a tower? Is there a tower? Now a different tower, now another one." It may bounce between towers as you move quickly across large distances, and it can create unnecessary load and confusion for the ground network. It is not just an airplane issue, it is also a network issue. So airplane mode is basically the quiet button. When you activate it, you tell your phone to stop its loudest type of communication and usually to pause the other radios too. Your device becomes a lot less chatty. It is still a powerful little computer in your hand, but it stops trying to reach out to the outside world through the usual wireless channels. Now, here is where things get interesting, and this is what explains why you see people using their phones after takeoff. Airplane mode is not a prison, it is a starting point. It is the quick way to shut down the radios, and then you are allowed on many flights to selectively turn some of them back on. The cellular radio, the loud shouting to distant towers, is the big one that stays off. It is the strongest signal your phone produces, and it is the one that makes the least sense at cruising altitude. So that is the part airlines and regulators have historically cared about most. But Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are different. These are shorter range, lower power connections, and in many cases they are considered manageable, especially once the aircraft is past the most critical phases of flight, like takeoff and landing. This is why so many airlines offer onboard Wi-Fi now. The workflow looks like this. You switch on airplane mode, which disables the radios, then you manually turn Wi-Fi back on and connect to the plane's Wi-Fi network. You are still not using cellular. You are not trying to connect to towers on the ground. You are using the aircraft's system designed for that environment. Same idea with Bluetooth. Many airlines allow you to re-enable Bluetooth so you can use wireless headphones. That is the Whisper. It stays close to you and uses relatively low power. Think of it like a quiet theater. Management does not want loud phone calls during the movie. That would be disruptive. But they might not mind you quietly adjusting your headphones or sending a silent message. It is not about eliminating every possible signal. It is about reducing the loud, unnecessary, and potentially messy kinds of signals, especially when safety tasks are happening. Now, let us talk about what airplane mode means for you in real life, because this feature is surprisingly useful even when you are nowhere near an airport. If you travel often, understanding airplane mode makes flying feel simpler. You will know exactly what is being turned off, what can be turned back on, and why the rule exists. You can use onboard Wi-Fi for email or messaging when it is permitted, while keeping your phone's cellular connection off the whole time. If you are trying to extend battery life, airplane mode can be incredibly effective. When your phone is struggling to find a signal, it works harder and drains faster. That is why your battery can fall off a cliff in a basement, a rural area, or a building with thick walls. Your phone keeps searching, keeps trying, keeps boosting its signal. Airplane mode stops that searching. It lets the phone relax. For parents, airplane mode can be a simple control tool. Your kid can play offline games or watch downloaded videos without accidentally wandering onto the internet. It is not perfect, but it is a quick way to create an offline bubble when you want one. If you are the kind of person who gets pulled into notifications all day, airplane mode is a clean little reset. You can still use your phone for offline tasks, reading, photos, notes, music you downloaded, even some apps that do not need the internet. But you remove the constant tapping on the shoulder from messages and pings. There is also a basic troubleshooting trick here. If your phone is acting weird with connectivity, toggling airplane mode on and off forces the wireless systems to restart. It is like telling all the radios, take a breath, then come back fresh. Sometimes that is enough to fix a stubborn connection without rebooting the whole phone. So here is my simple framework for airplane mode. First, it exists to reduce unnecessary wireless chatter in an environment where important communications are happening and where the phone's cellular connection is especially pointless. Second, it is not mysterious. You are not activating some dangerous function. You are simply putting your phone's communication systems to sleep. Third, depending on the flight and the airline, you may be allowed to wake up specific functions like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth after you are in the air. The key idea is balance. Airplane mode is not paranoid technophobia, and it is not meaningless bureaucracy either. It is a practical way to manage wireless signals in a place where you have a lot of devices, a lot of motion, and a serious need for clean communication. To wrap this up, airplane mode is your phone's quiet button. It shuts down the radios, especially the cellular radio, so your phone stops trying to reach towers on the ground and stops adding unnecessary noise. Modern aviation often allows you to selectively turn Wi-Fi and Bluetooth back on, which is why you see people online after takeoff. The cellular part stays off because that is the loud one, and the one that makes the least sense up there. You are not operating dangerous technology when you press that icon. You are just managing how chatty your device is based on where you are. And honestly, it can be kind of nice to disconnect for a bit and let your brain land before your plane does. If this helped you feel more confident about the tech you use every day, Subscribe to Tim Explains Tech. And if you want a perfect follow-up, next time we can break down why your Wi-Fi always seems to slow down in the one room where you actually need it.